All right, everybody. Hour two is brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Fight or Flight. A mercenary takes on the job of tracking down a target on a plane, but must protect her when they're surrounded by people trying to kill both of them. Starring Josh Hartnett, Katie Sackhoff, and Julian Kostov. Fight or Flight in Landmark Cinemas now. Okay, our good friend AJ Jakabeuc joins us. As you see, AJ, this probably you wouldn't know that I'm in Moose Jaw. Take my word for it. I'm back in Saskatchewan. I'm ready for the summer. And I feel like you are too, as the voice of the Ottawa Redblacks. Am I right?
Absolutely. I'm already fired up for that game on Thursday against Saskatchewan, and even more fired up to see where you're going to take me on Wednesday. Are we going to go see the Weyburn Beavers? Are we going to go see the Regina Red Sox? I know your Moose Jaw Miller Express are playing in Weyburn, so I haven't been to Weyburn since 1993. I went to the Weyburn Red Wings spring camp, and I got two black eyes and a cut right over my face. So I'd like some positive memories about Weyburn, and I'm hoping to go to a Beavers game with you.
I'd be happy. I'd be happy to take you to Tom Lang Park, and we'll stop at the 7-Eleven across the street where Julia Roberts was once spotted in 1990 with her boyfriend Kiefer Sutherland, whose grandma lives in Weyburn. Don't get me started. But AJ, before we talk about,
okay, I'm holding you to that.
Yeah. No, it's not hard. It's not hard. It's right on the entrance of town. Stanley Cup playoffs, though. How have you felt how this has gone?
Well, it looks like we're getting a rematch, which is going to be a heck of a series. Florida, basically took. I mean, when you look at the last couple of series, and I feel like the two best teams in the East, I felt that from the outset of the playoffs, were playing each other in round one. Florida, Tampa Bay, and the Panthers were by far the better team there. The Leafs gave them a pretty good run, but Florida, when they turn it up, they can emasculate teams, and we saw that against the Leafs. We saw that in particular in Game 3 against the Carolina Hurricanes. So they're certainly a threat to repeat. But hoping the Oilers can get it done tonight and set up a rematch, because I think the Oilers look like a better team in these playoffs as well. And I wouldn't have said that. I mean, the last time I was on with you, I said it, and it is like every team's got some flaws. Florida's got some flaws. But, the Oilers went from a team that could outscore their flaws to a team that all of a sudden John Klingberg rewinded the clock to when he was the number one defenseman in Dallas, and Evander Kane stepped in to the playoffs as if he didn't miss 11 months, as if he didn't miss 11 days. And Connor Brown, hopefully he's able to get back, is a player that is playing his best hockey of his career. And before that, his best hockey that he played in his career was here in Ottawa, where he was a real good Ottawa Senator. So I think, that's the matchup that I'm looking forward to. There's, Dallas is a very good team and a likable team, and this series is not over. But, I think Edmonton, Florida is the matchup that everyone's looking for outside of Dallas.
Rich in Edmonton writes in, Rich Robertson. He says, H.A. Jakabeuc, the pride of Fairview Boulevard in beautiful St. Albert, Alberta. I just got to throw that in there because he is like your biggest fan. I want to meet Rich one day because he watches every single day, and I appreciate him so much. But just on that Oilers thing for a second, you say like the Panthers have flaws. Here's their flaws. When they don't play well, they suck. I saw it in Game 4. I was there in Sunrise. You know what I mean? Like the Oilers, they all got to fire 10 out of 10 or they're not going to win. That's not changed. Every team's like that, right? Did I lose you? Did I lose AJ? I'm just saying, if you don't play well, you're going to lose. That's not a real secret. Did we lose AJ? How come he's just staring at me?
I was told to move right. Here I am.
Oh my God, you're fine. For the love of, you're good. He's totally
all good.
He's fine. So to the interview, I'm just saying the Oilers and Panthers both. Every team's got flaws if you don't play well, and I guess that's what sets it up. And I asked, who the hell was it? I said, when did the Oilers flip the switch? I never got a really good answer. When did you see the Oilers flip the switch?
Well, I mean, they were dominated in the first two games of that LA series, and I think Jim Hiller, I mean, God love him. I dealt with him when he was in the Western Hockey League in Tri-Cities and Chilliwack, and real good guy. And you don't lead a team like LA to the playoffs and to that spot if you're not a really good coach. But they were forechecking the crap out of that Oilers defense, and then all of a sudden, they get ahead in games and start playing the 1-3-1. And now instead of, pasting guys like Bouchard and Nurse and their defense, up against their own glass. They were gifted center ice because they're playing the 1-3-1, and LA was just basically defending in their own zone with a lead, hoping that they could contain guys like McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard, who I'd rather have them play more time in their end than they circle around while you try to protect the middle in your end. It might work against Anaheim, it might work against San Jose, didn't work against the Edmonton Oilers. So I thought he screwed up that first round. Just watching, it's easy to watch from your couch or the 500 level. I get it, but I thought all of a sudden they built some confidence from there, and their blue line, which looked to me like a bit of a weakness, all of a sudden, like I said, Klingberg started to show that he's back and healthy and playing the best hockey that he has since Dallas. I mean, Jake Wallman's been a revelation. Love Troy Stetcher. I mean, I don't even know what they do, once Ekholm is back. As do you go with 7? Do you bring back Skinner? I guess we'll wait and see. Clearly, you want to play Ekholm, but Stetcher's made Darnell Nurse better, and so they've got, that's a nice problem to have, given the fact that Oilers fans were lamenting the loss of Philip Broberg in the offseason, and now it looks like defense is the least of their worries.
Okay, buddy, to the CFL, that's why you're here. And to the viewers, I'll get to all your comments after. They're loving our chat here, AJ. But Naylor said the other day, you saw it, that this is a Grey Cup preview in week 1, Ottawa at Sask. I feel like you guys aren't shying away from that. Is it legit prediction, do you think?
I think it is, but I mean, I think you're picking from 5 or 6 teams. Like, it's fine to say Ottawa, and I think Ottawa's got a chance, but the 2 best teams in the CFL the last couple of years, it's not Winnipeg. It's Toronto and Montreal. Like, you could see a legit gap. Ottawa was there with everybody else in the league last year. Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, but they were 1-5. They finished 9-8-1. They were 1-5 against Toronto and Montreal. There looked to me, just watching the games, like there was a gap between those 2 and the other 7. So, and last 2 years, first 2 years since 68 and 69, that the East has had a better record than the West. And look who's won the last 2 Grey Cups, Toronto and Montreal. Probably in years that you would have expected the other to win it, but still, like the East goes through those places. There's question marks. Toronto's got question marks. They lost, a lot on the D line. Certainly, what are we going to see out of Chad Kelly? And Montreal's replaced Cody Fajardo with Davis Alexander, who looked great last season for sure, but it's different being the guy. It's different going out and meeting the media each and every week. We saw that last year with Drew Brown. It's a learning curve. And I think he handled it quite well, but there are some ups and downs. So, look, from an Ottawa perspective, I think their offense should be pretty good. They brought in William Stanback. They brought in Gino Lewis. They brought in Peter Godber on the O-line, and everyone else is a holdover from a team last year whose offense was pretty good. And on defense, the big concern was in the secondary. And one of the things that I've seen at camp so far, and especially in that preseason opener against Montreal, is they look to address it. They brought in a new defensive coordinator in Will Fields, and they brought in a ton of players in the secondary. And there's going to be a lot of new starters with the DBs this year for Ottawa, and I think that's a good thing. So we'll see. On paper, it looks pretty good, but injuries play a part. And when it comes to the East, Toronto, Montreal, and even Hamilton, with some of the weapons that they brought in, and Bo Levi Mitchell, I think you've got 4 pretty good teams in the East.
Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in. He says that's how Winnipeg has managed to make 5 straight Grey Cups. The West has been relatively weak. I feel like this is funny. I mean, I've been around a while. I'm pretty sure you've been around a while, AJ. Everybody's giving their predictions right now. Unless we write them down, nobody's going to remember. But as you remember, here in Saskatchewan, optimism reigns. That's just the way Canadian sports fans are about their team, right? And but like, you lost 2 key starters you signed in free agency on the O-line, Gagnon and McEwen. McEwen for the year, right? You talk to any offensive coordinator or offensive coach, if you have problems on the O-line, you're done, right? So I'm just sitting there going, okay, I'm just listening to the predictions, but none of this is set in stone at all. For the love of God, it's May, AJ. It's just fun predictions, right?
For sure. And like, I mean, I haven't seen Calgary in preseason, but you know they've got Vernon Adams Jr. They've got PJ Tucker as a backup. Like it feels like even Calgary, who's you know a lot of people are ranking the ninth best team. Like, is it going to absolutely stun me if I see Vernon Adams Jr. lead that team to the playoffs? I would say no. Edmonton's a team that they built up their Canadians in the offseason. They've got good quarterback depth. If Trey Ford you know, doesn't work out, and I like Trey Ford, and I think you know there's a good chance that it will. But you've got a Grey Cup winning MVP quarterback in Cody Fajardo to step in if things don't work out there. So, like, if those are the eighth and ninth best teams, and Hamilton in the East, like that's a pretty good league. Like, I don't really see a team that I'm absolutely convinced no chance is going to make the playoffs, that they're absolutely going to be a bottom feeder, which is great. You know, you want to see parity. You want to see every week the opportunity for every team to beat the other team. And I feel like to start the season, we have that. And I like the fact that Ottawa's playing Saskatchewan and a real stiff test out of the gate. Let's see how these two teams look if people think that
Yeah.
they've got Grey Cup capabilities.
Yeah, that's also fun. If this is a Grey Cup preview next week, my God, that might be enough to sell out the stadium, which I would love to be there, but we got a game here in Moose Jaw that very night. So, and just like tomorrow night, the Riders are home to Winnipeg, but we got a game here against the Saskatoon Berries. It's life. We can't be everywhere. I got to flip back to hockey for a second. That's the beautiful thing about AJ. We can do that, go back and forth. And I should tell you the Progressive Insurance text line's open, 902-518-3033. If anybody has a question or comment for our guest or me. Are you following? Well, you are following the Memorial Cup. What are your thoughts on what's playing out in Rimouski?
Yeah, I actually saw both Rimouski and Moncton play this year in the queue, trying to hit off some arenas on my tour. Two really good teams. I'm not surprised that Moncton ended up, you know, winning last night. Just a little bit more depth. I really like Desnoyers. He's going to be a high pick in the draft. So, and well coached. Gardner McDougall, all he's done is win everywhere. So London's got a real good team. I'm a Canadian. I like all regions. I've lived in 4 different provinces: Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC, Ontario. I could walk to Quebec in less than an hour. So I love all areas of this country. But you know, I grew up in the West. I called games in the Western Hockey League, and I hope the drought ends this year. I watched a little bit of the Medicine Hat series against Spokane when it was on TSN for the WHL final, and I was really impressed with that Tigers team. It's not just Gavin McKenna and Weisblatt. I mean, getting Lindstrom back is huge. I've been really impressed with Ryder Ritchie. I mean, Väisänen on the back end, a real strong player, and the goalie, what a story he is. You know, especially with the tragic loss of his father so suddenly as well. So hoping that Medicine Hat can get it done. But honestly, we got 3 capable teams of winning it all. The one concern I would have for the Tigers, and we've seen this in Memorial Cups past, is just that break. When you clinch on the Tuesday and now you wait until the Sunday, that's a lot of waiting as everyone else is playing hockey. You can use it to your advantage, but we've seen some teams struggle with that in the past as well. So hoping the Tigers can get it done and end that 11-year drought.
Hey, I got a question for you. Did you see in the AHL the announcer for the visiting team in Abbotsford got into it with a fan? Yeah, you saw that. What were your brushes with fans? Maybe you still have them. I don't know. What do you? Because I get triggered when I think of the Lower Mainland. I had all kinds of issues with fans out there calling games.
Yeah, Prince George was one where a fan came up and he was like, I had to take a break in the middle of the game because he's literally like 5 feet away from me yelling at me because I didn't say anything bad about Prince George. The Oil Kings were an expansion team and they're beating Prince George 5-0. Tough luck. Move away from the radio booth if you don't like me getting excited for a goal call. So that was almost an ugly incident. And I guess in terms of pure hilarity, a couple of years ago, and Brad Sinopoli was filling in. Jeff Avery missed a couple of games, and Brad Sinopoli was filling in. in the broadcast booth, and there was an issue. There was a couple of coaches' challenges that didn't go well. They're terrible calls from the command center. And we had a couple of fans basically yelling at our booth. They thought we were the command center. And we had to tell them, like, we're on the air. We're not taking a break. We're like, we're the broadcasters. This is Brad Sinopoli. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Relax. So that's probably one of the funniest since I got to Ottawa. But yeah, there are a couple. I mean, there was a Kootenay Ice security guard back in the day that used to yell and scream like right next to your broadcast
He
booth.
beat
Finally,
on
I
the
told him,
beat on the yeah.
I had enough of that guy. So yeah, told him where to go. But it's all part of the fun, right?
It's yes. I don't particularly miss it, but one night in Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver, which, as you know, what does that place hold? 14,000 at the most. I'm calling a game, a junior game, and you know you're right in the middle of the crowd. And I like to stand when I call games. I think you do too. And this guy comes up like 10 minutes into the first period. He leans over the rail and he's like, "Hey, buddy, can you sit down? My kid and I can't see the ice." I said, "There's 12,000 empty seats in here. You can move. I can't." And then he gets mad, calls security, and then they make me sit down. I'm like, for God's sakes, I'm the visitor here. And Edmonton, Commonwealth, because you're a favorite son of that town, you're probably fine. But some guy came in front of the press box, and back in the day, I'm doing Rider games. Guy yells in there, "Pedersen, you're a hack." And he stood there and was waiting for a response. I'm on the air with my pregame show. Like, it's hard to believe, but I was telling this earlier, AJ. We had a preseason game there in 1999. It just happened. I looked it up the other day. 35,000 people at a preseason game, Riders, Eskimos, 1999. Nobody would believe that now. Nobody would believe it.
Well, when I grew up there in the 80s, and you think, okay, the Edmonton Oilers won 5 Stanley Cups with one of the greatest teams ever assembled. And, you know, Wayne Gretzky, arguably the best player to ever play the game. And the Edmonton Eskimos in the 80s were every bit as big as the Edmonton Oilers. Warren Moon and the tail end of that dynasty. Like, I lived it side by side. We were pretty spoiled growing up watching 2 dynasties back to back. But, you know, that's not that. I mean, it's 40 years ago. I get it's, you know, I was a kid then and now I got a gray beard. But, you know, that's not that long ago. We're not talking about 120 years ago here when it was
Not
horse
talking
racing
black
and
and white.
boxing.
You're not talking black and white film, yeah, or photographs.
No. We still had video games.
Yeah, good point. It's just I hope and think they could get back there for their sake. I hope so. Mark Killam, great guy. Chris Morris, all those guys. I like Ed Hervey, man. I hope that they do well, but I do have them picked last place. Rich in Edmonton says 100% the Esks were as big in those 80s. You tell a kid now from Edmonton, they would find it probably very hard to believe. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says Calgary Stampeder original, Brad Sinopoli. They love the old CFL stories. I will see you. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says the evil empire was big, but long since over. Well, maybe they'll bring it back. Okay, AJ, I will look at that schedule. I'm a one day at a time guy. You like to plan.
Okay.
I get it. Months, years out. Not me. I'm 24-hour segments. So
It's
we'll find
Wednesday,
out next
Roddy.
week. We'll make a plan, okay? AJ Jakabeuc, the voice of the Ottawa Redblacks. We'll be back. Viewer takeover the rest of the way. After this...